Hey y'all, it's Maysha, and I'm here with as long as well. I've talked all day, so imagine that. I'm here with as long as you're breathing, impromptu live, and I have Scott Holmes with me. Scott, we've been talking all day, so we just went on live and just start talking some more, right?
Just keep talking. This is
Well, yes, it's great
easy.
to have you. Yes, and I'm going to go ahead and play our little theme song because I get griped at when I don't. So I'm going to play that, and then Scott, I'm going to try to fix my tongue twisted um, verbiage here, and yeah, I'm going to try to do that, and then Scott and I are going to talk some more. All right, there we go. Hey Scott, it's so long time no see.
Long time. It has been. Although I'm going to tell you, when I first met you, I knew you.
Yeah, I knew you too, and so that is super cool. That is super cool, and I know people are like, "What are they talking about?" So that just kind of goes right into it because we're talking about transcending relationships and actually what that even means. And so, Scott, just give us a little bit in your background and about how you even got into this. I know you're an author and all of that, so just give us all just a little bit of background real quick, and then we'll take off on what in the world are we transcending trans what trans.
I use the term only because it can be used in multiple ways. But
Yes.
but for me, in my journey, I took care of my wife for a number of years. She was a 20-year breast cancer survivor, and she passed. And I just really was lost. And I went to my first mediumship reading, and it really changed how I saw energy, how I saw life, how I saw death, how I defined it. So I went to Reiki, and I went to Reiki 2. I became a Reiki master. Went to go to massage school. I found polarity, and it just clicked. And polarity, for those of you who don't know what it is, I always describe it as Reiki on steroids.
You might want to describe Reiki too. Some people don't know what Reiki is, so you might want to back up and tell that one too.
Reiki is movement of energy. It's when I'm using with clients, it's to be able to, we are vibrational. We all live in vibration. Everything that around us is a vibration. A rock, by the way, just a rock. And I deal with crystals now, and I used to think a rock's a rock is a rock. However, for those of you who are sensitive, you pick up a rock, you can feel its vibration.
Feel its vibration.
You feel the vibration, whether it's meant for ascension, whether it's meant for grounding, whether it's meant for healing, whatever it's meant for. And by the way, for those of you who've never done it, you can, if you listen quietly, you can listen to plants.
Yeah. And
I did it in a workshop, and I didn't believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely did. That's another whole story. But as the journey goes along, and someone said to me, because I thought, 6 months I'll just have this licked. I'll have it, I'll know what I'm doing. Because in education, you take step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you build across. But when you're in energetic work, it's over here, over here, over here, over here. It goes all over the place, depending on where you're really guided to go, and what feels the right way, and what your needs are, and then how you relate it to wanting to do your work. And when you reach a certain level, transcendent, you want to heal and help others.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way that I kind of define transcendent, especially when it comes to men with the work I do, is you have ascended past only seeing yourself, of living in your head, of only hearing this. I transcended when I found my heart. I didn't realize that I had a heart.
Yes.
I know that I loved, but I wasn't in touch with my feelings. I was the best garbage trash compactor you could imagine. If an emotion came up, by the way, it's very bad to show those. You push them down. And then years and years and years in trauma and bad things and just any emotion, even if it was a good emotion, it got pushed down until suddenly there was no more room and it just all came out.
Yeah.
And that's when I really started. Um, we talk about abundance, we talk about joy, we talk about all of those, but those are just different vibrational levels as you go along. Gratitude was the very first tool that I used in order to come out of all of that.
Yes.
Gratitude for the simplest things. I was directed to an Al Anon meeting. Al Anon, not AA, but Al Anon. And they were working on step 4, and they said, name 3 things you're grateful for. Could not think of one. I was in that desperate a place, that low of vibration.
Yeah.
And so as I worked with that and woke up with gratitude and said, thank you for just waking up. Thank you for having a roof over my head and enough to eat and beyond that. Now, when somebody says, what are you grateful for? I could go on, for hours.
Yeah.
Because there is so much to be grateful for when we look at it, and it's just a matter of different perspective.
Question. Why do you think, I know you know the answer to this, but I'm curious how you're gonna press it. Why do you think they started you with just what are you grateful for? Why do you think that's where they started?
Why did who?
Well,
At the
when you
meeting?
went to the Al-Anon, yes.
It happened to be, I was directed to that meeting, and it was my guides directed me there. I ended up there, and they talked about that because I was not aware. When you're grateful, you're present. When you're grateful, there is a connection to an emotion. There is that connection within you outward. And so,
A specific connection. A specific connection. It's specific to whatever you're grateful for. So they immediately took you to a vibration that you wanted to be in. They took you to a vibration of something you were grateful for. So you would automatically attract some of that back into your life. And so as we consistently start thinking, if we're lost in all of this and we don't know what to do, and we're, it's like, okay, where do I start? Well, what am I grateful for? And when you finally find one thing, or okay, if I really can't find anything, what is the one thing that I would be most grateful for if I could get it? And if you will go there emotionally, energy in motion, if you will put yourself in that frequency, because that's all you're doing when you envision it and you get emotional, you're just putting yourself in that frequency. Well, whatever frequency we are in, that's what we're going to start attracting to us. But now it doesn't happen. It's not like energy is not like a semi truck. I mean, it's like a semi truck. It can't always stop on a dime. You're going to go ahead. That's why people say this doesn't work. I've been at this for a while now. And well, how much stuff have you been attracting to you in a different frequency? I mean, that stuff's still coming at you. That's why you have to be consciously aware and stay in the present and say, oh, there comes some protons, electrons. No, those are some I was attracting before. I don't want those. We have to be aware. But that's why you start with gratitude, is because it automatically puts you in the frequency. And if we stay in gratitude, we're keeping the things in our lives that we really want in our lives. And so, yeah, so that's why I teach gratitude the way I do. I actually teach people, okay, you've told me what you're grateful for. That's great. And what do you have in your life that you really work to have, that you really, the shoulds, because there are some good shoulds that you should be grateful for, but you're not. And that you get that look like you really want me to answer that, and it'll be like my job, my spouse, my something like that. And I'm like, then there's where we need to start then, because that is where you need to start. If you have manifested a life that has big things in it like that, and you're not grateful for them, then that's where you need to start your work. Is right there. Is because we have to do all this while the planet's still turning, and we have to do all this while we're still, I don't even want to call it healing anymore. I think I told you this. I want to call it progressing. I don't even want to call it healing. We need to do all this while we're progressing. somebody last night suggested evolving, and I said, but evolving makes then people go to, what do these people believe in? Evolution, and so I don't want to do that. So, but progressing, so we just need to do this as we are progressing. So anyway.
And that brings me something that just came up just by the way, and I wanted to share with you is that one of the things about yoga is it's not just when you're on the mat, but yoga is everyday movement. So I'm ironing a shirt, which I do probably once a month. I'm ironing a shirt. You're just going through the
Once
motion.
a month.
Well, I don't.
You're ahead of me because I don't iron. That's somebody else's job.
I don't wear a tie very often. So you get your dress shirt you haven't worn for 6 months. You gotta iron it. So, and I realized, and everybody I know wants to be a coach. And I said, I'm not a coach. I don't coach people. I guide them. I teach them. And so I consider myself more of a guide on a journey than I do anything else. I can point out points of interest, can carry you along the general path where you want to go, but you have to decide where it is truly you want to go.
That's me. I don't coach either, and I tell people that up front. I'll say, now, if you're here to be coached, don't expect that, because and don't expect that you can come and say, I'm here for this either, because I do as I'm guided, so I can help you that way. And so you may ask me about point B, and if they start giving me point C, then we're going to point C, and I'm going to tell you what they've said. I'll teach you what I understand about what they've said, and then it's yours. It's
Right.
yours. Now, if you have questions, then, I will help you, and I will still just give you information, but I don't coach you on what to do with that information. That information is yours, So yeah. And today we got paired up in our workshop, and it was immediately apparent that we're not going to do this way, because we teach. And so, but I was grateful for all the tools. I could see giving those tools and using those tools with people. I can see that. And
Absolutely.
so it was absolutely. But so our challenge is next week, of course, in this certification we're in, is how you're going to use that. How you're going to use this certification and what you do, and it's going to be, well, I'm going to start with whatever the first thing is, and then they're going to say something, and then I'm going to I'm going to go off and I'm going to do energy management and all the things I've learned here. I'm going to apply, and then I'm going to throw bubble gum at the Zoom. Because it's all here, it's all in here, and I've got it all, and I'll use it all. But how exactly? It's going to be organic. It's going to free flow according to my guidance, because that's what I do. So, and of course, we got paired up together. Is what you do too.
It's exactly. Have you? When was the last time you had a massage? You went and you paid for a massage. When was the last time that happened?
Wow, let's see. I can't remember if it was on a cruise I was on, or if it was when my friend came and she treated me like a whole spa day for my birthday. It's one of those two, but it's been that long. It's been that long ago that I can't remember which it was.
Okay. So every once in a while I treat myself to a massage. And when I was in school, you get used to having hands on, which is just a marvelous feeling, and you walk out and you feel great. So I had what's called a Lomi Lomi. And I was down in Florida visiting a friend. And it's Hawaiian based,
Okay.
but it's continuous movement, and it was a massage for 2 hours
Of continuous movement.
of
Wow.
continuous movement. I wore a sheet over my important parts. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
So this gentleman, he said it was an intuitive massage. It was the most amazing. I literally just kind of fell off the table. And I was a puddle right at the base of the table. I walked out, and the people I was with said, "Are you okay? Can you function?" And the reason I say that is the difference between a massage, which is neck, shoulders, back, hips, then turn over legs, da da da. It was intuitive. He went where the pain was. He went where it needed to go. It was, yes, there are basics to it, but right over here. Okay, so when I go, okay, so it's never the same way twice. It's not just systematic, and the same way, as in being intuitive, when you're working with people, you start off here, but you never know where it's going to go.
That's right.
You never know where it's going to go.
I think that kind of gets us to kind of what we were talking about before. The little brief discussion we had before is, um, it's like just the same way as working from a map is fine, but to me that almost feels like having a specific role. It's like you've got to go, this is your role here and this is your role here, this is the direction you're going to go in, this is the direction you're going to take, and that's not always what's authentic to you. And then also there is the fact that we're talking about two different roles and how to do it too. We're talking about, are you a coach and is that the mindset you're in, or are you a teacher? Well, it's true that those are roles that we step into and that we are doing specific things at those times. But regardless of what the role is, whether it's, am I going to go from point A to point B to point C, or am I stepping into, so I'm following instructions of some sort, I'm following a path of some sort, or whether it's we're stepping into a role as a vocation of some sort, like a teacher or a coach, the truth of the matter is we shouldn't, a role, that the label of that role is not really, the role is actually a verb. The role is a verb. I'm going to go down this path of what you're mapped out for me, so I'm going on the journey of that. Or I'm a coach, no, I'm coaching. Or I'm a teacher, no, I'm teaching. Because you show up as you don't show up as the role. And that is kind of the problem we were talking about when we first came on.
About relationships.
Yeah, in relationships.
Roles. When and I'm sure you were brought up and by your parents, they showed through what they did that there were roles.
Yes.
In the male relationship, the man went to work and he supported the family and he was the protector and he had his roles and he was out in his t-shirt mowing the lawn on Saturdays. And mom, whether she worked or not, she was the caretaker for the children. The major caretaker. She was the one who provided the meals, who cleaned the house. That's probably how we were raised.
That's how we were raised. I was raised that way too. Yeah.
Role gender.
Only my mom had to do the mowing because daddy wasn't. If daddy had to mow, oh, it got ugly. It was not a pretty thing. But, that had nothing to do with cold beer, dancing, music, pretty girls, or fishing. So it wasn't happening. He had worked all week. That wasn't on the agenda. Mowing was not happening.
Gotcha. So when you walk through it, you play that specific role as a father, as a husband, as a worker. In whatever you have a role within that job, and you have to you assume that role and you assume it. One of the problems I always got into was that I was whatever role I was in, I always went beyond because
overachiever.
But boundaries, just when I saw something wrong, I had to fix it. It didn't matter if it was my responsibility or not.
Yeah.
So whenever I was, especially at work, whenever I was in a specific role, I always get hired to the next and raised to the next and promoted to the next because I was already doing that job. Because whatever I was doing was, I just couldn't just do that. I mastered that and I said, okay, next. I went further. Yep, go to the next.
Yeah, they're not good with boundaries either. Yeah, same thing. It's like, but that needs to, and I was also always identifying system changes that needed to be made, and so that's how I invariably would end up in a different role. As I would be, okay, this is fixed, and I didn't want to stay and keep it running. I wanted to fix, and once I got the system fixed, I was on to the next because keeping it running was that's boring. I don't want to keep something running. Yeah, I don't want to keep it running. I want to build.
But that's the easy part. The easy part is maintaining. Getting it to the point of it being right is the hard part.
Yeah,
that dynamic.
Well, but I didn't think of it as the hard part. I truly thought of it as the fun part.
For me too. Me too.
Yeah, that was the fun part. Fixing it was the fun part.
But
once it was fixed,
fixing things. Or the other part of that is creating. Okay, I was a salesman for years on the road, and you are creating a relationship. There's no bigger thrill than to ever be in a relationship with somebody where there was nothing there, and you have established a business relationship to be able to move something, and all of a sudden it just grows. There's nothing better in the world for me, creation. Taking an idea, having it become a reality, and then have people buy on, and then stepping back and watching it just continue. You did
Right.
that same thing. You did that same thing. You were creative in your problem solving. You were creative and challenged to come up with ideas that people hadn't thought about before or hadn't used before or
Right.
different ways. So that creative part of you came out all the time. Now the thing that we talk about roles about, especially in marriage, that got me in trouble because I was always trying to reinvent myself. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
and so the person I was at 20 is not the person I was at 25, is not the person I was at 30. I constantly evolved. Um, we talked about
Progressed. You progressed.
I progressed. Yeah,
You
thank you. I'm going to
progressed.
start using those words.
Yeah, I've got a whole vernacular there where I need your help getting it out there. We
Oh,
progressed.
we definitely need to get it out there because the wordage that is being used has there are just too many connotations for every single word we're using within our healing modality. Not
Right.
healing, progressing.
Progressing. Our progressing modalities. Yeah, you're getting it. You're catching on.
My parents were the same people they were at 25 and 30 that they
Yeah.
were at 70 and 80. Okay.
Yes.
And they felt they knew their role and that they were very comfortable, did not want to change, did not want to progress, did not
I
want
know.
to do anything differently. And I mean, I love them for it, but the world changes so fast. The world I raised my children to be in doesn't exist right now.
Right. Right.
My
And
grandchildren are growing up in a world that I couldn't even comprehend when I was growing up.
and the problem we got into because our lineage, because our paradigm that we had was that things aren't supposed to change. Because of that, and then we realized that we were people who we were flowing with energy, whether that's what we knew or not. We were changing, we were progressing, we were time wasn't standing still, it wasn't static, we were dynamic people. But the ones of us that realized, but that's not acceptable with the family, or that's not acceptable with whoever, we put on mask. We didn't necessarily, we were either like you and I, the black sheep, and just did it anyway, or if it was a relationship we really did want to keep somehow, we would wear a mask in that relationship and try to
Fit that
okay,
role.
yeah, be in that role. Yeah,
You
we did. We tried to fit the role they wanted us to keep that relationship. But the truth of the matter was, um, we weren't those people. We were a generation of movement, and as you say, it's just getting more and more so. But that's the beauty of understanding the difference. That's kind of what we were talking about before we came on. The way I fixed all of those nursing homes, those long-term care facilities, I started with, well, of course, I would stabilize whatever was going on. Whatever had the residents at risk, that was first.
right.
But once that was stabilized, then you had a plan in place to make sure that didn't happen again. Well, then the next thing was to get people in the role for them, because just because that's what they were hired into didn't mean it was the role for them. And we used behavioral style analysis. So I got to where I could walk into a restaurant and in about 2 seconds I could tell you, and he's a, and he's a, and, he, and she's, and I just knew because I was so good at it. And I was so excited about being able to do that, because then I'm like, okay, and so that person is this, so I need to bridge because I'm this, so I need to bridge to them so we can communicate because they're that, and so all that stuff was just fascinating to me. Can you hear that? The blower outside? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that. He'll be done in a second. But what I've come to realize is we that was bass backwards, and I was doing the right thing because I was he's right at my door.
There
Just
you go.
leave it. Yeah. Because I was doing the right thing because I was analyzing what their behavioral style was, And then I was finding them the role they needed to go into. I'm like, okay, you're not in the right job for you. Your behavioral style is such that you need to be in this. But unfortunately, we were telling them when they took the test, think about yourself at work. And then they'd look at it and they'd say, yeah, that is how I want to be at work. That is how I am at work. And I'd say, okay, let's get you in the right job. Well, then they would come in and they would be in a bad mood. And I started realizing, wait a second, they need to be applying this at home too, so they can come to work in a good mood. And so then they would take it for their work mood at home, and they'd say, yeah, I knew that when I looked at the work one, that's not, at home, I'm entirely different. Well, then I got really excited about that, because then I'm like, okay, so now we know how we behave in all of our different roles, and we can start, and that's exhausting. That is exhausting, but that's what we did for how long? It was like, okay, I got to wear this hat here and that hat here, and that is all just bass backwards. What we're supposed to do, what we should do, is figure out who we are, and then in everything we do, be that person, because the roles are verbs. The roles are verbs. That is where you are doing your human beingness. You go as you, and you be whatever that is, but don't take on the role of it. And so that is what we, but the paradigm was, you had your role, you had your role, you had your role. So, and
Always.
yeah. And if you think about that now, people who are afraid of relationships and commitment and that type thing, it's because what they see is, I'm stepping into that role and it's going to be confining. And that's the problem. There should be no role. You should be being you. And then if you're going to be dad, okay, then be dad, but that's not a role. That is you being you, doing whatever being a dad is to you, whatever that means, because that's how you're going to be the best dad you could possibly be. Somebody telling you, defining for you, a dad is this, so you've got yourself into it now, but that's what you are. Well, no, you're not. That's not authentic to you. You're not going to do that well, or whatever. But when you let somebody come and be who they are, and then expand into being a dad, that, the expansiveness, the freedom of being the dad that they can be, because it's a verb. It's, the role should be a verb. I'm daddying. I'm doing the daddying here, and I'm doing it my way. And then all the creativity that you talked about, then we are co-creating. When we do that, when we are living the verbiage of what we are in co-creation mode. And that is what we're here for anyway. We are co-creators.
That is amazing. In talking with you, we've talked about relationships, and
Yes.
and people think that a relationship is this, one
Yes.
person to one person, and intertwined and so far into each other that this is, well,
Yeah.
we talk about vibrationally, energetically. You have male, female, and the relationship is that where they come together is a separate space. That
It's
it's
a place of
intertwined, but
co-creation.
you
It's a place
create
for
that
co-creation.
relationship.
Yeah.
That's where your relationship resides.
Yes.
It isn't this, because then you can't. There is no separation. There's no identity. You create a combined identity as a third in the bubble, right?
Well, yeah, but we're all, and so people who get worried about that, that's what we're all doing anyway. We're
Oh,
all
Lord.
part of one anyway. And so
Yes.
the oneness values our individuality, because oneness, the whole, the universe, wanted to experience, well, it needed uniqueness to do that. And so the expansion of consciousness, the expansion of the universe, requires each of us being our unique self. So this is what the universe wants us to do. That's why we say we are co-creators. We are co-creating, because if the universe does all the creating, then it's just going to be more of the same. When you're doing all the creating and there's no other uniqueness coming into it, well, it's just more of the same. But that's why the universe, let us be who we are, and that's why we're here in our beingness. And that's why we have guidance, is to help us do. That's the doing part. They help us do in our beingness. And we're sovereign over that beingness for sure, because we're sovereign over the creativity part. Because if the universe and all the guides are telling us exactly what to do and exactly how to be, it's the same old stuff again, and there's no expansion of consciousness that way. So it's the same way when two
No
people come
transformation.
together.
There's no
No,
transcendent. There
no
is no,
transcending, right? But with a couple,
no
it's the same
progression.
thing. Yeah, each one is amazing. That's why they attracted to one another, because they're in the same vibrational frequency. Okay, so they attracted one another. Now, what lowers the vibrational frequency and ruins the relationship is gratitude stops flowing. Well, why does gratitude stop flowing? Well, it either stops flowing because you don't make space in the relationship for the person, and and therefore they're going to go somewhere else. Okay, you're not showing the gratitude that you said I could expect this from you, and you're not doing it, and they're going to go somewhere else.
Yep.
Or we are stifling one another with this paradigm of, okay, you're my spouse now, this is your role. No, I'm the person you met, and I will husband you, or wife you, I will be me and be that, because that's beautiful and amazing, and I want to be that. But we need to co-create that over here in this other dimension. Don't pull out the checklist and tell me what that means. Let's co-create that, and let's make it what we want it to mean. And then that expands consciousness, and that's when the universe is like, yes, that's it. And then we're even higher vibrational, and the whole planet's vibration goes up, and it just, yeah.
We talk. This is a lot of esoteric. This is a lot
Yes,
of,
yes,
and my clients come in that I work with, and if I had the same discussion using the same words with them, they may go running out the door saying you're I have no idea what you just said. So in bringing it to this level of relationships,
right.
um, my the woman I met after my wife passed
Yeah.
gave me a gift of true unconditional love, in that she wanted me to do and be everything that I wanted and that I could be.
Yes.
And having been a caregiver for years and years and years, I was in that role. I was in survival mode. I was in that caregiver role where what I needed, what I wanted, was not important at all. Everything went to what was needed outside of myself. And so just trying to find what I needed in order to expand is I feel more um, fully a man. And in doing that, I found my heart. We're taught to go with our head, and we make decisions with our head without emotion. We think about things logically. We take one step, we take the next step, we take the next step because we know that's a natural progression. That's what we should do,
Right.
all without checking in with the most important, which is where our true guidance comes from, and that's the heart.
The heart.
The heart and the gut. And they call it emotional IQ now, I think.
Yes.
One of the
Emotional
derivations.
intelligence, yeah, or emotional quotients, whichever, yeah, EQ, yeah,
And so when they're looking at it, it just means you get it.
yeah. It just means you feel your heart, and you're following your heart. Just means you let your heart lead. Yeah. So, yeah,
And when
I
you
love how
do,
you said. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
go ahead.
I love how you said she lets you just be you, and do whatever that is, what that means. Now, for some people, they're like, well, there's some things I don't want them to do. Well, then if you've attracted the right person into your life, then them being themselves is going to be okay. It's going to be, it's not going to be something that is so far out there. You're going to be like, what? Because that doesn't fit into, that vibration doesn't match with you.
Right.
But um, sometimes we do have to broaden our horizons a little bit, or stretch a little bit. That is what the co-creating part is. That's why the relationship is a safe place for those discussions, to say, okay, this is what you can expect of me, and you can say, I like everything there except that one. That one I just can't get my head around. And then you discuss it, and maybe you can, maybe you can't. And if you can't, then you're not in vibrational alignment with one another. And if you can, I mean, there's expanding, and growing, and then there's no. there's no way I can expand to that. And then when we cop out and we say, but let's do this relationship anyway, that's when we get into problems. And we're compromising the integrity of the new dimension that we formed. And so we have to be really careful with that, because we are programmed that compromise is the answer. And it's not compromise, it's co-creating. So if you can co-create within that space, and and somebody comes in and they say, this is who I am, this is what you can expect, okay, this way you, and you look at each other's expectation list and you're like, yeah, no. Because somebody can be very much in alignment with you and have something that is totally out of alignment. And if you compromise beyond what you're truly able to expand to or want to expand to, then you've still set up a bad relationship, because you actually compromised or settled for something that doesn't really vibrate with you. It's a denser frequency. It's a different frequency, and it's non-resonant with you. And so that's one of the pitfalls we have to watch out for, is because once we get that amazing relationship, we're like, okay, yeah, and we're co-creating it, etc. Oh, now we got to compromise. Well, no, you got to co-create still. It's always co-creating. It's always got to be co-creating, because if we start compromising, then the next thing you know, we're right back to, we're filling the role. Well, my role is to be quiet and let them do what they want to do, because that's what I heard all this high-headed, high-minded stuff is about, is he gets to be whoever he wants to be. No, he gets to be the guy that you met and that you were attracted to, and he was attracted to you, and that when you co-created the relationship, it matched. And if it didn't match, then you got attracted to one another because you had a lot that matched, but not enough that matched.
Enough. And most people I have found accept that. Well, there's, I love them to death. There's everything going on. This stuff over here, I just can't. And I always say, in a relationship, when it starts out, there's these little quirks and things that we find really attractive, and over time, those quirks become
the bugaboos, the elephants in the room.
The elephants in the room, exactly.
Yes.
And you've accepted them when they were little quirks, but now that they are disruptive to the relationship, and as we all get older, by the way, our idiosyncrasies become larger and larger and larger. As we know, if we've, as your parents get older, they, the really odd, funny, cute stuff can just kind of roll right over you, because they become bigger and bigger and more pronounced. And it comes to
our idiosyncrasies are our uniqueness. But when the idiosyncrasies are allowed, we compromise to the point that we accept idiosyncrasies that are going to be chaotic energy for us. Then we're going to have drama within the relationship. So if it's an idiosyncrasy that is, it fits, like you say, that's cute, that's different, that I can expand to that fits with me, then we're great. But if it's one that's chaotic energy for us, then it becomes drama. And then who wants drama? You didn't get together for drama. You got together to live in great big capital letters. So, to love and grow and have fun and create and do all of those things. You didn't get together to have drama. You didn't get together for that. So
no, we don't.
Yeah. So there are cute differences. There are attractive differences. There are those things that, oh, wow, I hadn't thought of that before. Yeah, I can stretch to that. I can incorporate that. And that's ongoing. You don't just fix it one time, co-create it one time, say, okay, we got that now. Let's go do all these things and it's going to be fine. No, it's not. It's every day ongoing, just like you take care of yourself every day.
By the way, when I got married when I was 19, I was a dad when I was 20.
Wow.
So I also thought that once you got married, that you didn't have to work really hard at the relationship because you were in love. If you're in love, you don't have to work at it. Everything just kind of happens. It falls down or right around you. Everything just flows very nicely, very evenly, and you don't have to work at it very hard.
Because that's what you were told. I mean, that was what everybody reflected that it was. This is what it's supposed to be. That was
Watch the movies.
Program.
Watch the movies with John Wayne and with all those movies we were brought up with, where they meet, they fall in love, they get married, and they live happily ever after.
Did you notice that's where the movie ends? Did you notice that when they meet, they get married, and they're going to live happily ever after? Movie's over. They know, and the sequel. If there's a sequel and it's a successful sequel, the successful sequel will have, well, something fell apart, and the sequel is where they're fixing it and putting it back
They're
together.
fixing
You know,
it. Exactly.
exactly.
And I try to dispel my daughters of that kind of fairy tale, and
Fairy tale, yes,
the fairy
yes.
tale that was. I offered them money, $10,000 in the bank, and they could have the biggest tent they wanted with the DJ and everything in the backyard. I'd pay for everything. They got as many guests as they wanted to, and the money was used for a down payment on the house. So because with a wedding, you get a beautiful dress you can't wear again. You have a wonderful recording. You get all these photos, and you have a memorable party. So I tried to dispel them of the kind of that rumor, but both of them went for the fairy tale. So it ended up costing twice as much. They ended up with a very nice video, a lot of photos that they never look at, and a dress that they put away they never look at again. And both of them came to me after 2 years of marriage and said, "Damn, I wish I got the down payment."
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's taken them so long to struggle to be able to achieve and get that money, take that money and be able to do that. Because, I was letting them know there's a different way to look at this.
And that's why I like using energy management, because I know today whenever I would switch into energy management mode and say, okay, but if we looked at it this way, and I could see people going, yeah, 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 but then I also saw, then I would also hear, but people aren't going to get that, or no, that's exactly what people do need to get. We need to take it out of the personal, out of the emotional, look at it as energy and teach it that way. Then you're not telling a little girl that grew up on fairy tales are bad. You're not going to get a fairy tale wedding. That's not a good thing. You explain the energy of it. You teach the energy of it, and you start when they're little. If only we had been taught energy management when we were little. Who knows where we'd be. But you start there. You start when they're little. That's the problem. That's why we have the health problems we do. That's why the world's in the shape it is. We don't know we're in energetic bodies. Once we know that and we start managing our lives thinking that way, look how much drama is going to be gone. Look how much, the comment was made today that, what was said? Race is, I have it written down somewhere. Let me see. Race is, I don't know where I put it, but it was, race was a social construct. That was the comment today. We wouldn't have that social construct if we were looking at everybody as energy.
Yes.
That levels the playing field.
There is no color in energy.
Yeah, that's right. So, and there's no male, female really in energy. There are more masculine and more feminine energies, but it doesn't look at us as, are you male? Are you female? So all of those social constructs, they're gone. They're gone. And you level the playing field then. So, and that's why I say we can't label each other as I'm right and you're wrong, good guy, bad guy. There's none of that. There's just, what is the resonance of that? And so the scientific people that once think that what we do is woo-woo and it's magical thinking, no, we're saying that exactly what you all know is that all of this is energy. We're saying take that and apply that to the human beingness of us. And we can make that logical, and we can make it make sense to people, and they can back up from their emotions, look at it from a standpoint that, okay, I'm supposed to follow my heart. My heart already knows all of this. My heart knows all of this. So if I just follow my heart, my heart doesn't see social constructs, because that's the energetic body. So if we will just accept the energetic body, then we're not being non-emotional. We're not being any of those things, but we're just stepping back and we're looking at people as energy. So we're just taking the truth of science and we're applying it to the energy in motion that we are, to the emotions that is our living. That's what living is energy in motion, emotions, and it's flowing. So we're taking the science and we're applying it to living. Ease
of living.
And grace of living. We're flowing with grace and ease. Boy, isn't that a common phrase? Grace and ease.
And this is where we get into dis-ease.
Dis-ease, exactly.
where energy does not flow. And I've been coming across more and more in my teaching, my learning is about self-healing, about
Hmm.
how if we cause through our emotions, anxiety, fear, um,
Right.
all of those things and where it resides in our body, and it can cause disease, that positive energy, positive, all of those positive can ease that or heal that
Or heal it.
within
Heal
yourself.
it.
So the mind, the body can heal itself given the right energy flow.
So accept that you are energy. Take care of the energetic body. Start addressing things in terms of, start defining things in terms of energy. So we
Of
get the
energy.
social constructs out of it. So we get the emotional. So we get the emotions out of it from that standpoint. We make it non-emotional from the standpoint of, don't tell people they're in their ego. Tell them you're in the mind dimension. Don't tell people, well, you're being low vibrational right now, but you're in a non-resonant vibration for me, a non-resonant energy. It's not resonating with mine, or it's a denser energy and I'm in a lighter energy. So if we take the words out that trigger, the emotions, then we level the playing field, and then we all start living from our heart and recognizing emotions are great. Emotions are what living is, but we've leveled the playing field with it, and we're all doing it from our heart space, from a pure place that
Your heart
isn't
space.
looking, yeah, because it's being led by the frequency that we came here in. We came here with a frequency that will lead us to do this. And so, but we have to get all of that out of the way first. So even our own vernacular and what we do is something that we have got to overcome.
We
And
have
and
to
I
work.
find that in everything.
Yeah.
That's in everything. And so that is yeah, but absolutely, you're right. That's it. So I'm going to be quiet now. You talk.
No, I the point one point I wanted to make, and especially for anybody who's watching this, and is that what we're talking about is something you are relearning what you already know.
Yes.
This is not new. The elders back, Lao Tzu, Buddha, you can go through all of the religion. They knew this.
Yes, they did.
They ascended. They transcended because they knew this already. We have through the millennia we have lost it because of social constructs, because of civilization, and because of where we live, where we've grown up, what our traditions are, what our um, our ancestors did. We've lost a lot of that, and we have to just relearn it. So shedding a lot of that stuff that we carry around with us, and coming down to our core, we find it's there. That
And that
is
lightness that we get from doing that, the all that weight that we just take off of us, that's
amazing.
that's how you go high vibrational. I mean, that's how you go from the denser, but that's how we got to the denser, is all those energies that other
That we're
people put
carrying.
on us, that we're carrying, that aren't ours. They're not authentic to us. You take off all the energies that aren't authentic to you, and you're going to go exactly to the vibration that is authentic to you.
And
You're going to pop
that's
right
an
up to
amazing
that.
thing.
Yeah.
If anyone listening can remember, go back to a point where they felt sheer joy,
Yeah.
whatever that you're sitting in a sunset in Hawaii with the person you love the most in the world, and that sheer just joy just kind of washes over you. That that joy you can have all the time.
All the time.
You don't have to be on a beach in Hawaii. You can be sitting in the chair at home, and you can feel that same joy. You can go back to that because that was a vibration.
It
You
was
can
just a vibration. Yeah.
you can take that vibration back in. When I deal with my clients, and I they're getting up from the table, and I told them to close their eyes, and I say, feel this, how good you feel right this very second. And then if you feel anxiety coming on, or you feel something just heavy coming on, remember this feeling right here, this vibration, where you are at this very moment. And you can change how you're feeling at that very moment just by going back to it. And that's how we can take it into everyday life. We can do this ourselves if you take it right back to.
And do you know what that is? You grounded it for them. I'm always telling people, because they hear us all talk about that. You've got to ground. We are chronically ungrounded. You have to ground. That's what grounding is. That is taking what is truth, what that moment that you want to be, feel, experience, what is truth to you. And that is identifying it and grounding it so you have it within you to go back to. It's like if you're somebody who does video all the time or something like that, you got these marks on the video, okay, that's my point to go back to. This is where the slice needs to be made or whatever. So it's like that point. It's like that arrow you dropped right there, to edit that video or edit that piece of audio. That's your point. That's your grounding point to go back to. So when people hear us talking about, okay, we're going to ground now. Oh, what's this woo-woo stuff they're doing? No, we're not doing anything woo-woo. We're recognizing what energy we want to be in, and we're going back to that because we've been there before. We're going back to it.
When I was first taught, it was in polarity, and the teacher went, I said, what's that? She says, I just cleared myself. I said, what do you mean you just cleared yourself? She goes, it's my physical way of taking my energy and bringing it right back to where I need it to be. Went,
and making it her energy, not anyone else's. Yeah.
No, just her energy. She just,
right.
And she tapped and right back to where she needed to be and where she wanted it to be. And that's, I think people don't understand that they can control that physically within themselves. Their aura,
right.
their chakras, they can do that. And I was doing the Lomi Lomi, and I asked him for an impression. Anytime you're on the table and somebody lays hands on with the massage, they get things back from you. And I asked him, because he's intuitive, and I said, what did you get? He said, clear. That's all he said.
Wow.
And he said he'd never met anyone that he could say that about.
Clear energy. Your energy was clear. It was your energy, no other energies.
Nope.
But that's how you get to be authentically you. That is truly, that's what true freedom is. And to do that, it's true self-care, it starts with energy hygiene, grounding, knowing what that means, clearing your energy, knowing what that means. And those are basics we have to be doing all the time. Just like if we had a meal and there was spinach in it, we have to go to the bathroom and brush our teeth, clean our teeth, okay, it's the same thing. Okay. You were just around somebody toxic as could be, they're narcissistic as could be. That energy is on you. You have to clear that energy. You have to go back to center. Yeah. You got to do. Yeah, you were just around, you were just in a place that made you anxious or whatever. So you've got to ground yourself. It's hygiene. You just ate spinach. You had a spinach salad. You need to go clean your teeth or whatever. That's what it is. I mean, that's what it is. It is so basic, but we weren't taught that. We didn't even acknowledge that we had an energetic body to take care of. So we taught kids to brush their teeth, all of that stuff, but we didn't tell them, ground yourself, center yourself, clear your energy. And so, I mean, from the get-go, the energy that built up on us from the get-go, being ungrounded, not even knowing what grounding meant, not even knowing what centered meant, the very basics that we should have known, we didn't know.
Imagine if you were a kid and you knew how to do that. How many traumas through the years, growing up from 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old, how you could just bring that back, allow yourself to ground, not have that trauma carried around until you're 50 years old. You've gone through 2 divorces. You're absolutely miserable. You're absolutely.
I'm an overachiever. What can I say?
You don't do anything small.
I don't do anything small.
And going through all of that, that not carrying that weight that builds up over the years and gets more solidified, like a calcification of a muscle as you get older. It just gets harder and harder and harder, and you can't get rid of it. And most of us, as we age, we find, oh, there's all this, the aches and pains. A lot of
That's
that
it.
is just stuff we're carrying around with us, emotional,
It's
uh,
trapped energy.
trapped energy that is just been carrying around and causes problems. We release that. I've released that in people, and their eyes bug out of their head. They go, "Should I be feeling that?" It's like, "Yep," because it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Wait a minute, how did it? It was physical. Yeah, it was physical, but it was a physical manifestation of energy.
Of
That is
energy.
all.
Exactly.
That is all it was. You can make.
And
You
there's
can
so
do
many
that.
ways.
Like, yeah,
Yeah. And there's so many ways we can do it. I mean, we have all the modalities, but movement, laughter, all the things that bring us joy, not the things that distract us and cause us to just sit there kind of, okay, but the things that bring us joy. Like we did laughter yoga today. I mean, how silly did we all look? And I love every time we do it. 'Cause I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again. I get to just be me and just be silly, But any type of movement or anything that takes you to a place of joy, that can be that can move the energy too. Like if you're an artist and doing your art takes you to a place of joy, and you have had something traumatic, you can move the energy if you don't go to escape in being an artist, but if you go there with the intent of feeling the art, feeling where it takes you to,
yeah.
and then grounding that and releasing. Okay, say, okay, I felt dense and heavy. I felt what da da da. This is how I want to feel, and you ground that moment, and you say, okay, I'm bringing my energy here. I'm releasing. I'm calling myself back to myself. So all this stuff we do in meditation that people think is just whack, it's not. It's I'm calling myself back to myself across all time, space, universes, dimensions, lifetimes, past, present, and future. Any energy I left somewhere else that is stuck, no, I'm not leaving it there. I'm calling it right back here to the here and now. I'm grounding this moment. This is me. This is what I want to feel. This is what I want to be. This is what I want to experience. I'm claiming it. I'm sovereign over it. And you called it back.
And
And
that's where the practice we do,
yes,
bringing people tools, simple tools to be able to do
simple.
this themselves, because having somebody else do it is wonderful, but it doesn't last, and it won't change your life in that one brief instance. You
And that's why
do it
we're
on
teachers.
a why we
That's
teach.
why we're teachers.
That's why we teach,
That's
because
why we teach.
we want to teach the man to fish. We don't just want to give him a fish.
Absolutely.
We want people to be able to continue that feeling over and over. And I call it, I'm getting away from the word habit, okay? Because
Yes.
habit has a big
Yeah, bad
when I
connotation.
go
What
to rituals. I go to rituals. I do morning
ritual?
rituals, because you have to have intent when you do a ritual. You have to be present when you do a ritual. You have to you do something. Every morning I get on the mat. I go through clearings. I do my yoga, and then I do my meditation. But I do it with intention. I don't just brrr. I do it with intention, and I start the day that way. And on those days when I'm rushing and I can't get to it, I feel, it's funny. I feel a little bit off, no matter what
Your energy's
vibration.
a little whack.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. I'll come home. I'll come home for lunch, and I will sit in meditation to be able to bring myself back. So no matter
Yes.
what vibration you're at, or where you feel you're at, you you're never the same day to day. Number one. Number two, we all go through the ups and downs. Everything, energy flows up and down. Some days are really great, and some days are you're kind of trying to pull things up. But you need to do those things with intent, with purpose, and that's what I try to teach people, much of the same way, that If you do things by habit, you're not there, you're somewhere else. If you do things with intention, you are in that present moment and you are fully aware, fully alive. And that's where joy comes from. That's where abundance comes from. That's where that gratitude. And when someone, you can tell where someone is, where you, if they use gratitude in any shape, manner, or form, you know that they're in a great place.
Yes. Yes. When they relate to that. Well, you know, and the fact that doing things with intention versus habit, you know, that's in all honesty, that is what I don't like about once I've fixed the system. I don't like staying and maintaining it because then it becomes a habit. It just becomes, it's something that you're just doing, that you do, and it's like walking and chewing gum at the same time. You know, that bores the daylights out of me. You know, I have to add 3 or 4 other things in to make it a challenge because, you know, it comes too easily. So, but that way you can be intentional about it. And that's why, you know, that's why, because people who say they don't like change, they want a habit, they want a routine, they don't want change. Well, I'm sorry, you're living on a planet that's going round and round, and we're energy in motion, and everything is constantly changing. So you don't get to keep.
Continuously.
Yes. So we don't get to keep. And if we taught people that when they were born, from the time they were born, if we taught, oh, and guess what? 5 seconds from now, everything's going to be different. Another 5, yep, everything's changed again. And you know, if we could see what's happening, if we could actually see the molecules that make us up and the vibration and all the change that's happening, you know, if we could get that concept and then not be afraid of change, but realize that truly living and being free is being intentional with that change, with that you direct that change, you determine that flow. Don't let it just happen to you. Don't jump in the stream of life and let it just take you wherever, but be intentional with it. Don't live by habit, but be intentional with it. And then you're directing that. And that is sovereignty over self. That's sovereignty over self.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
I've traveled to the Far East, Malaysia, Singapore. I went to Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam for 17 days with my best friend. And what's amazing is that, other than I found out I was an accidental Buddhist, the yeah,
Me too.
truly I didn't really know anything about Buddhism, but I realized I was an accidental Buddhist because when I came back, I just felt like I was one. Um, that people, no matter where you go in the world, people are human. They are the same. They may not do things the same way. They may not see things the same way, but they're human. That all of that vibration, that same air I was breathing, they're breathing now. This
Yes.
air has gone through. And the concept that I try to show people is, you know, you don't think about the air we breathe, but somebody else has already breathed this air. We are all connected in one way or another. That how 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 is it that we all breathe air, but you know we only have air for me and it's only mine and it goes away and then that's it? No,
Yeah, me and
we are
mine,
all
me and mine.
right. But it's we are all connected, no matter
Yeah.
where you are. That travel has just expanded that whole understanding for me. That the more differences there are, the more people want the same things for themselves. And it's absolutely amazing that if people traveled more, it allowed them to
Yes.
open up for those differences.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess to explain accidental Buddhist is when I read about Buddhism, I'm like they accept just about everything. I mean, Buddhism is about not, they've got a label for everything, but they label everything because everything is okay, you know. So there's, you know, and so it's about freedom. Buddhism is about accepting freedom, about sovereignty of self is what it's about. And so I'm
Period.
an accidental one. I'm an accidental one. I didn't know, you know, I kept hearing, you know, about the, I'm like, okay, I need to read about this. And I read and I'm like, well, I'll be dadgum. You know,
Yep.
I'm a little German Buddhist. You know? Who knew? Grew up in Southern Illinois. Little German Buddhist. Who knew?
Who knew? And I had never been exposed to it, and went over there and fell in love with it and understood it from the get-go.
Yeah.
And it surprised the heck out of me. It really did. I was raised Protestant. I raised my children Catholic and converted to Catholicism, and I now am a agnostic Buddhist. How's that? Uh,
I get that. I can totally relate to that. I was raised. My mom was Protestant. My dad was an atheist. I eventually, after studying every religion that there was here, or every not religion, but the divisions of religion. I'm gone blank on what it is. It's been too long of a day, but you know what I'm talking about. Denomination. After discovering I studied with Lutherans, and I was Lutheran for a while and loved Lutherans. As a matter of fact, I found out what Jehovah's Witnesses believe. I found out what Mormons believe. I found out what they all believe. I sang on 2 nights a week live worldwide on television with a big television evangelism type thing, did all of that. But in the end, ended up Catholic because it went back the furthest I could trace, in what we are here. But then like you said, I read about the Buddhist stuff, and I said, well, if I'm going to be something, it's this. But I really don't want to label. But yeah, so I guess I'm an agnostic Buddhist too. I don't know. We just created something there. I don't know what that is.
that is funny.
Yeah.
And by the way, sometimes when you get talking, your Southern comes out.
Absolutely.
I lived in
Shut your mouth. Isn't that what you said the other day? Shut your mouth. Isn't that what you said?
Lived in Biloxi for a year and a half when I was a kid. And some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth when I go down south just surprises the heck out of me. It really does.
Yes, and my Southern comes out, and I'm proud of it. I had some guy I was doing business with one time over the phone got really, he'd only ever heard me, and we'd been working this business deal for I don't know how long. He'd only ever heard me, and finally he just flat out said that he was dealing with a stupid Southern woman. He wasn't worried about it, and I said, well, you better, because you won't ever get this deal through, and you won't ever speak to this stupid Southern woman again. And he didn't. None of that happened because, there again, social constructs that we put on people. I've had people tell me, you're really going to have to work on that because you talk in big groups and they're going to think that you're not smart because you sound Southern. And I said, they're going to know the difference when they listen 5 minutes. No, 2 minutes. I'm not worried about it. And so if anything, yes, I would teach seminars in the North, and I would have people call me aside and say, can you not be so Southern? Because we know how smart you are, but you're not going to be taken seriously. And I'm like, that was just, I went out, and if you think I can talk Southern now, talk about talking Southern on purpose. Talk about talking Southern on purpose. It was like, watch this, because that's ridiculous, to think that because of how somebody's speech is, just like as ridiculous as what color their skin is or what part of the world they're from, and if we knew everything was energy, we wouldn't even think in those terms.
No, Lord, no.
No, we wouldn't think in those terms. That wouldn't even be there. And how much better would this world be? People talk about how some of us who believe all this, how it's unrealistic, And I was one at one point. My son said to me one time, he said, Mom, it's not that I disagree with the things you're saying. He said, I'm just not ready to give up on utopia yet. And I said, son, I don't want to give up on it either, but I don't know how to get there until you can trust the next person. Because if you do everything the right way and they're not, then, so I don't know how to do it until you can trust the right person. And even when I was saying it to him, I'm like, you don't believe that. It was like, where is that programming coming from? You don't believe that. And so that caused me to even delve into this even more. And the truth of the matter is, what we're doing now is exactly how we get to utopia, because we came here for utopia. And the way we have that is understand energy. And when we all start practicing that, when we all start living energetically and authentically, it automatically goes to mutual respect. And there is no way for the world to stay in low vibration. There's no way for it to stay in the denser energies. There's no way for the world to continue in the denser energies it's in. So the more and more of us that adapt this, yeah, it's going to work because then I don't have to trust the next person. The next person is high vibrational. They're in their vibrational frequency. They are acting with mutual respect. I don't have to trust that. It's what is, because that's all it's all that's going to resonate. That's all we're going to be attracting in. And so it's impossible to stay in the dense. You're not going to be able to stay in the dense. There's going to be there's no place for it when everything else around you is vibrating so high, and there's no place for it. And so we truly do change the world this way. We truly do. We change the world this way. Now, how long it takes for us to get enough people here, well, I'm not happy with it taking long. I'm determined that can't take long either, because there's a tipping point. There's a tipping point where, like we're what, at 80, 20, 70, 30 or something like that in percentage of people who are functioning this way versus not. We do get to a tipping point where once that has shifted enough, well, then there's too many that are high vibrational for that to stay that way. And then that's how we quantum leap it, is when we get enough of us. When we get enough of us that are high vibrational.
You got 70-30.
Yes, and there's 70-30. That's right. And that 30% is not going to rule the 70%. And by rule, I truly mean rule, because that 30% will want to, because they're the denser energies. Because the 70%, they don't have a ruler. They're free. They're all acting within their human beingness. They are free. And then we have a whole different governmental system. We have a whole different world. We are going to get to that tipping point, and it's not going to take. We will see it in our lifetime. I'm sure of it. I am sure of it. We are going to hit that tipping point in our lifetime, because people like you and I, we've talked it all day and we're still talking it, and we don't have enough sense to stop. So we are determined. We are determined. And because not to impose a belief on anyone, but because we know that's where happiness really is. That's where joy really is. That's where not being stressed really is. That's where freedom really is. We just know that. And so we are, as you started it out, once you have transcended, you can't help but you're going to share it one way or another. You're going to share it. You can't go back.
And you can't go back. Once you elevate and you see things from a different perspective, you can't unsee it anymore. You can't unsee it anymore.
You can't unbe it. You can't unsee it. Yeah, I have something here. Don't just be yourself, become yourself. Don't just be yourself, become yourself. And that's because people are like, well, I'm just me. Well, become all of you that you can be. Become all of you that you came here to be.
Show it, be it, live it.
Yeah. Becoming is with intent. Being is intentional or non-intentional, because it can be a verb, or it can be just a state of being, but becoming, you can't ever say the word becoming and becoming. I mean, that's doing, that's being, that's action, that's intent. And we're never still. We are never still, because we're energy in motion, and we can't deny emotions. For the people who say, well, that's too emotional. Well, I'm sorry, but everything about how you measure your existence, all existence, it's emotion. It is frequency. It is, so I'm sorry. You're an emotion of some sort. In just being, in your beingness, you are in some sort of emotional state. Always. So someone who says you're too emotional, I'm living. You can't be alive and not be in an emotional state. So be in the emotional state that's right for you. Do it with intent.
Nicely put.
Well, thank you. All right, we've gone like an hour and 14 minutes. So what would you like to say?
Just that it was a sincere pleasure to be able to spend this much time talking about things that most people don't talk about. It's hard to find. Not as hard as it used to be, but it is still hard to find people who are like-minded. There are more and more people seeking the answers, and the answers are right within themselves. God
Right
is not
within.
a God is not a outward concept. God is an inward concept. Again, Buddhist. Um, Eastern religions go in. Western religions go outward. It's all about what starts here and goes outward. And it's an absolutely wonderful, beautiful, marvelous thing. And by the way, you bring that every time, everywhere you go, you bring that. You are energy personified. And I want to thank you
Energy
because every
personified.
time we have we have a conversation, I leave feeling
Oh,
so much better.
oh, thank you. I didn't know. I thought you were talking in general. I didn't realize you were talking about me. Well, thank
I'm
you.
talking specific, yes.
Oh, well, thank you
But
so much.
you bring that energy to me, and I just want to float away because you are in such high vibration that I want to meet that.
Well, thank you. And that is, but that's what we're all to do, is to be that. And because then for people to be in our orbit, as I said, they will come to, they resonate some, or they wouldn't be in your orbit. They wouldn't be in your field. They wouldn't be in your energetic field. And so that is why we are to go ahead and be our authentic self and co-create, not compromise. Because when we co-create, that's how we help somebody do that, what you just said. Whereas if we just compromise, then we potentially lower our vibration. We settle, we compromise our integrity. We compromise the integrity of our own vibrational frequency. So, people talk about being confident and those kind of things, like it's arrogant or whatever. No, it's being confident is just, what your vibrational frequency is, and you don't want to compromise that frequency. You want to maintain the integrity of that frequency, because that is who you want to be. That is where you're happy, healthy, whole, and complete. And that's where you want to be. And so, and for people to be in that field with you, that's where they come to. And we do attract people in by being that, that resonates with me. I want that. I talk about in the twin flame world, I talk about that they're here to model the 1+1 = 3, and they're to be that couple that other people go by and they're like, I don't know what they do, but let's be like that couple. Or the kids grow up and they're like, Mr. and Mrs. so and so, or maybe they're not married, or maybe they're not even Mr. and Mrs. Who knows? But that couple over there, mom and dad aren't like that. Let's be like that couple. Or you're wanting to teach your kids and say, okay, listen, I don't have that down yet. We're not there yet, but that couple, that's who I want you to be like. Be like that couple. We don't have that yet. We need to work on that, but let's all be like that couple. So that's the point of it. That's the point of being confident about who you are. You're not arrogant at all. You just know you found something that you want other people to find. And so you're not compromising the integrity of that energetic field that you're in. If we let in a lower vibration, if we let in a non-resonant vibration, we're compromising the integrity of our field. And then our health, our happiness, our wholeness, our completeness, all of that, we lose it. And so it's not about being stiff. It's not about being arrogant. It's not about any of those things. It took me a long time to have this energetic field in this alignment, and I'm not willing to compromise the integrity of it.
Yeah, arrogance. I once had a sales manager who was giving me a job review, a year-end review, and he said, "You're arrogant," and I was shocked. So he went on for half an hour, and I didn't hear another word. All I heard was,
That's all you heard.
"You're arrogant." And I looked at him, and he said, "Do you have any questions?" I said, "You said I was arrogant?" She said, "Well, perhaps I used it wrong." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Your confidence is so strong that you walk into any situation and you're telling people that you can solve this." I said, "That's arrogance?" He said, "Well, kind of, because most people can't do that." So I guess just having a confidence within yourself, having that confidence of knowing, I don't have fear. I've known so many people who lived in fear. I don't have that fear anymore
I
of
did most of my
any
life.
situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
of any situation. We talk about what do most people fear? Standing in front of other people and speaking.
Yeah.
I've had teachers who are in front of children, by the way, especially middle schoolers, okay, 6th, 7th, 8th graders, who are probably the most critical eyes you've ever seen in the world. They pick apart everything. And they went to address a room full of their parents, and they're shaking. And these are people that are in front teaching every day. And I marveled at that. But when you get up on a stage and you've presented many times, it's just you're having a one-on-one conversation. It just happens to be 1,200 people.
That's right. That's all it is. But the reason I'm so adamant about staying in the integrity of the energetic field that I have now is I lived so many years in fear. I grew up in fear. I grew up with my fight, flight, or freeze turned on, and yet still kept pushing to be this because here it's who I was. And so I kept pushing for it and pushing for it. But because I would gravitate back and forth, I would go back and forth between fear mode, which is what my circumstances were. They were dense. And so it was kept pulling my vibration down to that. But then there's the me that vibrates that is not that. And so I was constantly vacillating between the two. And so people would perceive it as arrogance when confidence is not arrogance. Confident okay. And 9 times out of 10, when you're confident that you can make a change or improve a situation, it's not because you know how. It's not, that's the heck of it. You know that you may not know how. That's not it at all. But it's because you're confident that you can get into that situation. And in my case, I could figure out who did. I could put the right person in the right place to get it done in my situation. But it's about also you're confident, okay, I function in the integrity of this vibrational field. If I'm trying to fix something and I'm attracting people in to help fix it, they're going to be the same. They're going to vibrate in the same. And we are going to figure it out because we're people who vibrate at the frequency of there's a way to do this. And so it's not even about that you know how to do it, but it's like, okay, let's take a breath. Let's calm down. That's why I always talk about James Kirk and the Kobayashi Maru. I don't believe in a no-win scenario. I don't know the answers to everything, but I vibrate at a frequency that I'm going to pull somebody in, by golly, that does, because there's an answer to it. And so, and that's confidence. Arrogance is when I know everything, and then you try to talk to them about something and they won't tell you anything. We talk about knowledge being power. Yeah. Knowledge is powerful. When you have knowledge and you use it to accomplish something, that is powerful. Knowledge is only power if you are arrogant and you have knowledge and you hold on to it and you don't share it. Yeah. Exactly. Because a lot of people who are knowledgeable and arrogant, they don't share it because they don't know as much as they said. So their knowledge is powerful in that they exude this arrogance. And so they hold that over people, but they're not really powerful because they don't know either. Because the truth is, none of us know everything. And I am so good at admitting that. I am so good at admitting, I don't know. I don't know. But hold on a second. We'll find somebody who does. We put out the vibration. Somebody's going to come along who does. And the other part of that is too, what defines success? What defines abundance? I mean, okay, people could look at my life and say, she's not successful. She's not abundant. Yes, I am. I'm doing what I love to do all the time. And I know I make a difference in the people that are attracted to me. And if that's not success and abundance, I don't know what is. I don't know who has more fun doing what they do than I do. And so darn tootin', I'm successful and abundant. And that's just going to keep raising my vibration and attract more things in. And our definition of successful and abundance, it comes from here. It comes from who we are. And so it's different for everyone. And having everything in the world to me is not. I've had so many things, and I was miserable. That's not success and abundance to me. This is success and abundance.
And thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for the compliment.
More than welcome. You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much.
This was a sincere pleasure doing with you.
Oh,
They're
well, thank
working.
you so much. Well, I
And
told you, anytime you want to come on and do a live, we'll come on and do a live. And so now we have to change the vernacular of our industry, because it is an industry. I hate to say, but it is. So we've got to change the vernacular of the industry. But and that'll happen. We're going to get to where people are using words so that people recognize we are talking about energy. We're not talking about a different type of religion. We're not talking, because when they hear spiritual, they're like, I don't
oh,
I don't
wait a
want
minute.
anything.
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, I don't want anything. So we really are, we're talking about energy. And then you get to decide from in your heart space, the personification. I love how you said the personification, because that is, people who talk about angels, that's the personification we have done of a dimension of energy. It's that simple. Now, for the very religious who want to see them as something, well, they're high vibration. They're in a vibration we can't see. So they are in a realm that is magical to us. They can do things that are supernatural. They can do things that are spiritually amazing. And so all of those things fit. But they're also, for the person who no, that's not allowed in my life. Okay, fine. It's another dimension of energy. Okay, I can accept that. Well, that's why if we just talk in terms of energy and then allow people to, from their heart space, what is the personification of that to you? What makes it within your field? What is the beingness for you with that? And for me, it is with angels. They're angels. I hear them. I know they're there. But if somebody else doesn't, that's okay. I'm good with it. They don't have to. But to live their best lives possible, they do need to understand they are energy, and do their energy hygiene, do their energy management, start living their lives, doing that as their daily self-care, instead of distracting all the time and not going within and knowing. Go within and find you. So then everything that you do, your entertainment, everything, you're enjoying. You're not just distracting yourself through life. Don't distract yourself through life. Enjoy life. And this is how we do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, as long as we're breathing, because we're at 126.53. So as long as we're breathing, this is how we do it. Oh, thank you, Scott, for being on and for everything. I've enjoyed today immensely, the class and everything. And so look forward to it next week too. And look forward to doing more lives. You'll have to pop on. We'll do more lives together.
I have a feeling that was going to happen. Thank you very much.
All right, let's do that. Okay, you all. So now you know why I said who knows what's going to happen on here in the description. We had no idea where it's going, because everything is one. And there's no way to talk about one part of this without it rabbit holing down into another part of it. And we can take it in any direction that you all want to. So for those who watch these and want to start coming on and interacting, we would love that, because the interaction, the discussion of it, is how we raise the vibration of the whole planet to a vibration that is less dense. And so all of this can be the way we all are all the time. Happy, healthy, whole, and complete, living in great big capital letters, as long as we're breathing.